Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome to a video on what will be my first initial thoughts on Metro Exodus. I'm roughly 4 hours into the game, so I'm not like by any means doing a full-fledged review or anything so far, but I kind of wanted to give you guys like my impression on the game and what I think so far and what's good and what I don't like. So yeah, let's get right into this. So the first thing I want to point out is that Last Light came out in 2014 in around August, so it's been 4.5 years pretty much since the last game came out, and I've got to say I'm really impressed so far. Like, you start off the game and I just finished the Redux versions of 2033 and Last Light, so playing those and then coming straight into this one, you notice the graphic improvements immediately. And it still has that nice and ominous and spooky atmosphere that you're so used to from the other two games, and it still feels like a good, nice Metro game. Like, there's not a whole lot, it's not a drastic change. In the beginning of the game, you start off in a Metro tunnel, which whoopee, big surprise there. But you do get to see a lot of the old creatures that you're used to seeing. Like, you see some watchmen, and you get to see some demons and stuff like that. But you automatically, you start to realize how much the game has improved, and you see how much different they look, but in a good way. I feel like it's actually what they would have wanted the creatures to look like, instead of them just being I don't know. If you look at the older models that they used in Last Light and 2033, Watchmen, I feel like they had a lot more hair on them and stuff like that, and it was you could definitely tell that the hair wasn't part of the regular model. I don't know, it just, you definitely tell the difference, and it looks and blends into the atmosphere of the game so good. I don't know, that was one of the things that I really liked when I first started the game, and I noticed it right off the bat. Just like with the older titles, you're going to be seeing a lot of side conversations going on as you walk around and listen to what people have to say, and it's pretty much the same kind of concept as the other games were, where you could walk around, listen to people's side conversations, and pick up on a lot of this background lore and what it helps really set the mood for what the current events are going through of the game. I don't want to spoil any of the actual story. But if you want to fucking play this game, and you'll notice that some of the side conversations pertain to what's going on in the game and what's with the story, and how your character has interacted in the downtime between this game and the last game with some of the characters who obviously know who you are and what you've been doing. So I thought that was really neat. This game definitely takes place after the good ending, which is, I actually didn't get the good ending in Last Light when I recently played it, and I put the video up on my channel. I actually had to get someone else's footage for that because I got the bad ending. But in the good ending of Last Light, some stuff happens with your friends of the main character, and you see a lot of those characters, the ones that are still alive, come back in this game, and so you get to see a lot of the old returning characters that you grew fond of, and who they are and everything from the old games. But they also sprinkle in some of these new characters that you immediately kind of like, because they have these neat little quirks to them. There's a couple of new members to the Order that you get to meet right off the bat, and I don't know, they just have a lot of cool little side stuff. One of the Order members, his name is Sam, and he's an American guy who's been in Russia, I guess, for over 20 years, and he'll make little short comments, and people will ask him about stuff in America, but I don't know, he just always has something funny and quirky to say, and I don't know, I appreciate that sort of background to his character. One of the things I really like about this game, probably the most of all, is that, without giving any spoilers here, once you finish the big intro scene to the game and you're out like into the meat of the game, you get to explore these huge like open areas. Like, it's not, the game is still linear in the fact that it wants you to do the main story, but there's also all this free space that you get to walk around and explore, and there's new enemies to fight, and I've even seen some new monsters, and it's just, it feels so much more open, and you get more of like a feeling of exploration, and you get to see what the world's like just out, instead of it just being in these narrow tunnels or like a little bridge area in the old games. Like, it really builds on, like, you get to see what's going on around you, and you get to see some of these villagers who are just out in the world defending themselves against these monsters and have their own ideals and stuff like that. And it's very interesting to see in this game, because all of the games prior to this have been so linear. Another thing that I really liked about the first, like, I can't say for all of the areas so far, because I'm still only in the first area, even with 4 hours of gameplay, which is crazy to me, because you could beat Metro 2033 in about 6 hours because it was so linear. But with this one, like, I'm running around finding all this cool stuff to do. But in this first area, you have options. Like, it's not just like, hey, you need to like go over here and make your way to this or this and that. Like, there's a lot of water in the area, so I can either get in this rowboat and try to like avoid the creatures in the water, or I can try to go around the water and fight, bandits or whatever's on the land, or like, it gives you options, and I like that, because options are good, and they make it to where you feel like you're having a unique gameplay experience that's different than everybody else's, and that's awesome. Another thing I was also super skeptical about was the crafting in the game. I wasn't really sure how I would like the crafting, or if it would be one of those games where it's super like complex and you need to grab like, oh, I have to have a certain piece to do or to build this or that or whatever, etc. But it doesn't make you depend on it, so it feels really nice, because there's only 2 different materials that you need. And I mean, you can find them all over the place, which I'm in normal difficulty, so I mean, I wouldn't say it's like abundant, like it's everywhere, but like I find enough of it to where I'm not struggling to find crafting materials, and I kind of like that, which that would be one of the reasons I would want to go back later and play it on like a higher difficulty, so that way I can try to struggle through and have to really ration out my crafting materials to make the gameplay more interesting. Some of the weapons in the game are actually pretty much, most of them are going to be the exact same ones so far that I've seen from the previous games. Like, I'm getting to use the AK and the revolver, and I've seen the A-shot, which is like the single shot shotgun. And I've seen one of the pneumatic weapons. I can't remember the name of it right now, but so far I've not seen any guns or weapons or anything like that are super out of the ordinary for the games. But I really like the way that they did the attachments, because you can go through the game, and not only can you kill human players, or not players, but human NPCs that are running around that have weapons, but you can also just find weapons laying around, and anything that you find, if it has an attachment and it's not just like the base model of the weapon, you can strip the attachments off of it and use them later. And I've even found like a scope that I can put on not only my AK, because I found it on an AK, but I can put it on my revolver, which it's kind of cool because it's interchangeable, and it makes for a lot of like cool, interesting combinations that you can really make the gun your own, and I like that a lot. Something new that they also added with the weapons is the cleaning mechanic, which I thought was really interesting. Like, you always carry around this backpack on your back that you can at any time just pull out and kind of modify the attachments on your weapons, so you don't always have to like find like a safe house or whatever you need to get to a crafting bench to add these attachments to your guns. Like, you can do that anytime you want, but your gun, as you play with it and shoot and, use it more and more, and out in the world, it gets dirty, which makes it less efficient. Like, it may lose accuracy, or like it jams a lot. I've noticed that with the AK. Once your durability on it goes down a whole lot, like, it jams, which can, you want to keep it as clean as possible so that doesn't happen in like a bad situation. So you actually have to go around and like clean your weapons, which I thought it was going to be kind of annoying, but I feel like it dirties at a pace where it's not annoying, and it's an interesting enough mechanic to where I want to take care of my weapons, if you can understand that. Once again, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I feel like the story sets up really well, where it pulled me in, at least. Like, I've not read any of the books or anything like that, but just going off what you learn from the first two games, this one really sets off with like a nice like plot twist to kind of pull you in. And I don't know, I'm normally not a super big fan of, like, if it's like a really crazy story, like it's super like hard to understand. I'm most likely not gonna really get into it, because I don't want to have to dig really deep into the lore of the game to find it. Like, I'm just not that kind of person. But this game, it sets up really well, and it kind of pulls you in within the first little intro tutorial area to kind of get you wanting to like figure out what's going on. As you can tell, I'm pretty much just giving the game nothing but compliments, because I really do like it that much so far. But obviously there are some things that I don't like about the game. One thing I'm not really crazy about with the movement is that it feels really like spacey or like floaty when you jump. Like, it's almost like you have the gravity turned down, and your character kind of just floats through the air while he jumps. I thought that was kind of strange. It's not like it really, like, once you get used to it, it's not going to like affect your movement really. But I thought it was kind of odd. It didn't really match like how I felt it should feel. So nothing crazy, but I just thought it was kind of weird. One thing I've heard a couple people complain about is the performance of the game. I am playing on PC, and I feel like I have a pretty decent setup. It recommended me to use ultra settings from the get-go, and I even after I got out of the first little like tutorial area, I actually lowered it down to high just to get a little bit more FPS. There's only been like one or two spots where my FPS has dropped at all, but most of the time it feels pretty stable, so I can't really give a whole lot of opinion on this. But from my experience, it's not been terrible. I feel like with one or two optimization patches, probably they could, if they were actually good patches, they could probably fix any sort of problems people are having. As far as controls go, normally, like, all of it's pretty good. I didn't like that the lighter function was moved from just regular M, which that pulls up your map now, which is understandable. And they moved M to L for lighter, which is fine, but it's all the way across the keyboard. Nothing you can't remap, no big deal with that. The one thing I can't change, and I kind of wish I could, is that in the old Metro games, if you came across like a small like ammo cache or like a box or something that you needed to open to get loot, you would just hit E on it and it would open quick and easy and simple. But with this game, it wants you to hold E and fill up like a little bar. It just seems kind of unnecessary and tedious. Like, if I'm trying to sneak through an area and I'm trying to grab something really quick, like off the table or something like that, like I have to open the box by holding E. I thought that was kind of weird. Nothing. I'm not gonna stop playing the game because of it, but it was just kind of one of those things I wish I could change, but there's not a setting for it. That's pretty much the sum of the whole like experience so far, though. Like, I mean, I'm having a blast with it. I feel like I've waited 5 years and it's paying off. Like, I feel like they've put a really good amount of work into the game, and it's nice, and it runs good for me, and I'm not having any sort of troubles learning what I'm doing. Like, it's fairly straightforward, and you get into it and you have fun, and there's tons to explore, and I can tell that later in the game there's going to be a whole lot of cool like different kinds of like armor or something that I could get, or like customizing my weapons with unique attachments or something like that. So by any means, this is not like a full-blown review, but I would like to do one once I finish the game completely. And I mean, the game's got replay value as far as I'm concerned. I can always up the difficulty and come back through and try to play it with less resources and having to actually hold myself back from engaging in fights because I don't have the ammo for it or whatever, etc. But anyway, thank you guys for like all the support lately on my other Metro videos that I've put out lately, and I'm definitely going to be doing more videos on Metro Exodus in the future, so I'll see you guys then. Thanks for watching.